The Practice Protocol with Paul Conant.
All right, welcome to week 2, lesson 3 of the 12-week Practice Growth Accelerator. You're well on your way to the goal. You're going to be an expert in goals by the time this is done. Last lesson, Tom said, don't shortchange yourself. Make sure you're doing these. It's very important to understand the whole goal setting process. If it's done right, it's going to make a world of difference to you. And not only done right, but tracked right. And that's what this week's about. We're going to talk about tracking goals and what it's all about. Tom, I want to talk a little bit about, you're the KPI and facts and figure guy. You're the accountant, so you know all about this stuff.
Yeah. So, let's put down, again, you're going to have your goal, and within that, you're going to have your action items. And a simple, may not be a great example, but if you want to sign 2 new clients this month, all right, so that's your goal, and 2 more clients for X amount of dollars. So let's just, for argument's sake, for an additional $5,000 monthly revenue, you're going to sign 2 new clients because of repetitive business. Okay. So what are the action steps to do that? And that would be, I got to make 20 calls. I'm going to make 20 calls a day. I'm going to go 6 hours of networking, right on down the line of laying out exactly the activity that you have to do. And in some cases, your goal may be, your goal changes from 2 clients for $5,000 additional monthly revenue to your goal is to make those 20 daily. I got to make the 20 calls today, or I got to go to X amount of hours. I got to go to 4 networking events. Okay, we can't go there, so how am I going to do them on Zoom? And then once you get those action items, you need to plot them in your calendar. When are you going to do them? You got to plot them out. If they're not on your calendar to block off to do it, then you're not going to do it. If something's going to get in the way, there's going to be an issue, and it keeps getting pushed back, and in 30 days you didn't get any of it done. So that's how you need to stay on schedule. Write out, break it down into small steps. It's not the big freak out. How am I going to add, this kind of revenue to my business? It's break it into small, simple steps that you can monitor on a daily basis. And if you get tied up and you don't get your 20 calls in today, well, then tomorrow you might need to make 40. So block that off and figure out, because that's going to get you to your goal. So I think that's why the parts of knowing your numbers, tracking it, and staying on schedule.
Right. And then, just keeping it in a journal and putting it down. If you don't want to know what the Fortune 500 companies do to be successful, it's because they break this stuff down and they dish it off to the store managers, the district managers, the regional vice presidents, and they manage to particular areas. And they have the direction put down for them. They have check marks and they know what categories they have to build the goals up on. When I worked for Circuit City, if they had an initiative around a big screen TV and they wanted to sell the big screen, the categories, the goals, how we were going to increase it, how many people had to talk to them, what they had to do. This was all broke down. And we achieved those goals in most cases because, we were execution. And that's what we did in the store. We had to execute. And the better you executed in the store, the better it was. All this stuff we're telling you right here is what the big companies do in order to, create those goals internal to the stores. And like Tom said, they're all done in bite-sized pieces. If you make one giant goal and you go to hit it and you don't even have an idea how you're going to hit it, you're not specific, it's not a SMART goal, that's when it falls apart. So anything you want to add on the journal? And
yeah, make adjustments. You may have to make adjustments. That's why we measure it. What your plan might be getting. It changes. It was, this year it's been changing almost daily. So that's what the good journal is to, understand what you've done, what's working, what's not working. If it works, we keep doing it. If it doesn't work, then we change it or we add a different type of strategy.
Yeah.
So I think that's monitoring your numbers on a regular basis will get you to your goals.
Yeah. And it's not just the business, the practice owners. It's, it could be from every level. It's the dental assistants. It's the, anybody internal to the office should have some sort of journal, whether it's for business or for personal. This is how people move through and, they create whatever it is. They get better success at work, wealth, they're happier, healthier. All this stuff is critical to all that, and that's where it'll help you with. So, in conclusion, we want to put that together. It's vital. We know to track your goals. If you're not writing them down and tracking them, what are they then, Tom? What do you call them? Wish?
Yeah, and just an idea. Good idea.
It's a good idea. So, we're not about just a good idea. You know what? People have tons of, me being in the marketing space and, helping people with new businesses, there is no shortage of good ideas, but there's a ton of shortage of people that write the ideas down and try to execute those ideas. There's just the idea people out there. Do this, do that, shoot this, shoot that. Before you know it, you're like, yeah, great. When are you going to do it? Right. And, Tom and I are guilty a little bit of that over the years, right? We put programs together.
Yep, absolutely.
They're ideas, but we executed on them, and that's why we're here today with you. So, so important, and that's it. That wraps up our lesson 3.
Just one final word, Paul, is once you get really good at this goals and tracking them, you get to the point where your business will be a machine and say, I need $30,000 of revenue in this quarter. Okay. You can go back if you know your numbers on what you have to do. I have to do this many presentations. I have to do this many sales calls. You can back into it because you know your numbers. You know that if you contact 10 people, you'll get 3 appointments and get 1 sale by this strategy. That's why, so you can say here's my goal is to get this. You'll know exactly what you have to do. And, it takes time to get to know your numbers that well, maybe a year, maybe even a little longer, but each month you get more knowledgeable. And that's a powerful tool that's turning the faucet on and off,
and to that point, the reason why we created this program, I've been in the marketing space for years. I don't want to date myself, but we go back to the 90s on this stuff. And I always was, I couldn't understand why some people had a lot of good success with the same campaign when others didn't have good success with the same campaign. 2 different offices running 2 same campaign, just different areas. And what I found was the ones that were better at tracking and they had their systems and processes in place and their goal setting were much better and had bigger successes, 10 times the amount of ROI on their ads than the ones that were one time. And when we started tracking it, I put together things in our marketing practice where we tracked the phone calls. We did all this stuff. And when I found the ones that actually managed to that and went to it and said, okay, we had a problem with the phone calls being answered here, there, and they were really active with me on it, they were crushing it. And then I would take those results and I would show them to another dentist. Well, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing anything like that. I'm like, why aren't you seeing it? Let's go back and look. Oh, you're answering your phone between 9 and 5. So how are you going to hit those marketing goals when a lot of your calls are coming after hours? So we would set up processes on that too. So you're right. If you're writing this stuff down and you see it, it's a page in your playbook to go back to and say, hey, how did we hit it the last time? Oh, here's everything we did, how we set it up. That's what we're going to do this time too. That's where the details come in these goals. That's what these calls the weekly calls are for too. If you're like, yeah, goals, I read it. It sounds good, Paul, Tom, thanks very much. No, it's about acting on those goals. When you say you want to hit your revenue goal or your target goals, what do they look like? It's painting that whole picture out. So that's what we're here for. Make sure you make it on the weekly calls. This is week 2, lesson 3. We're going on to 4. And then at that point, week 3 is all about setting these goals up. So make sure you get good at this stuff. Really important. We want to put these in bite-sized pieces for you too, because we don't want to overwhelm you with an hour download webinar on why you have to have goals. I think we know why we have to have goals. We just have to understand all how it's put together. And that's what we're doing right now. So we'll see you on the next video.
The Practice Protocol with Paul Conant.